Night. The gray streets of Paris, still wet after the rain. From the prison, through the gates wrapped in barbed wire, steps out Lucas Reno. On his shoulders, an old coat. In his pocket, a crumpled scrap of paper with someone else's phone number. No one comes to meet him. Freedom tastes bitter. He walks through narrow alleys, hiding his eyes from surveillance cameras. At the very first metro station, he accidentally bumps into a man in a dark jacket. The man looks around nervously. In his hands, a bag stained with something that looks like blood. "Where are you rushing off to?" Lucas throws at him. "None of your business." The stranger snaps back. This is Mateo Silva, a fugitive who, just hours ago, left behind a wrecked car and the body of a guard. Two strangers met by chance. But it is this very chance that will become the beginning of everything. On the horizon appears a third figure. Swaying, Jean Morel, a former police sniper, steps into a bar. In his gaze, emptiness. In his hand, a bottle. He does not yet know that fate will soon bring him together with them. The red lights of Paris reflect in the puddles. Three different men. Three broken destinies. Their paths have already crossed. And there is no way back. A cheap bar on the outskirts of Paris. Dim light, the smell of alcohol and tobacco. At a table sits Jean Morel, a former police sniper. He slowly sips whiskey, his fingers trembling. His life has long since gone nowhere. The door opens, Lucas steps inside, followed by Mateo. They silently sit at the same table. Jean glances at them sideways, but does not chase them away. "You're fresh out of prison," Jean says hoarsely, staring at Lucas. "And you look like someone who used to shoot straight when sober," Lucas answers without blinking. Mateo throws the bag under the table. It lands with a dull thud. Jean leans slightly and catches a glimpse. "Money, a lot of money." "Dirty," Jean mutters. "All money is dirty," Mateo snaps. Silence hangs between them. Three gazes cross. Each has his own pain, his own past. But there is one thing they share. Hatred for the life that broke them. Lucas slowly leans forward. In Paris, there's a shop. Jewelry. An old owner, no guards, just an alarm. I know the layout. "And what?" Mateo asks, defiant. "That we can take it all. Clean. No noise." "Clean?" Jean laughs bitterly. "It never works that way." Lucas clenches his fists. "Then we'll make it work." Jean looks at him with a long, tired gaze. Then he grabs the bottle from the table, empties it in a single gulp and says, "Fine. If we're going to die, let's do it beautifully." The three men lift their eyes. For the first time at one table, the heist becomes reality. An empty warehouse on the outskirts of Paris. Walls covered in graffiti, the smell of damp and dust. It is here that they meet again. On the table, unfolded blueprints, old plans of the jewelry store. Lucas runs his finger along the scheme. Here's the entrance. The camera is here. The alarm is placed here on the second floor. "And you're sure this is still up to date?" Mateo interrupts. "I did time with the one who built this system. He knows for certain," Lucas answers coldly. Jean, silent, cleans his rifle. Old movements, automatic. His hands tremble less than they did yesterday. "I'm taking the roof," he says. "If something goes wrong, I've got a bullet for anyone who gets in the way." "For us too?" Mateo smirks crookedly. Jean does not answer. Lucas lays out 3 masks, black gloves, and bags on the table. "We leave no traces. No names. Only movement." Mateo pulls a pistol from his bag. still warm from recent use. And if the police arrive faster than you think? Lucas looks straight into his eyes. Then we don't run. We go all the way. In the darkness of the warehouse, only the sound of a bolt echoes. Each of them understands. This is not just a heist. This is their last chance to break free. Paris, Rue de Rivoli. Hundreds of people pass by the windows, the glitter of gold and diamonds blinding the pedestrians. No one pays attention to the three men who dissolve into the crowd. Lucas sits in a cafe across from the store, a newspaper in his hands with a hole cut out for a view. His eyes carefully watch the door. Matteo inside a shop across the street. He tries on a jacket, but in truth, he's timing the arrival of the guard with the armored van. Jean on the rooftop with an old pair of binoculars. Beside him lies a rifle hidden under canvas. In their ears, earpieces, their voices coming through short and dry. Camera number 1 rotates every 12 seconds, says Lucas. Cash comes twice a week. Today it did. Which means tomorrow empty, adds Matteo. Roof is clear. But there's an alarm on the fire exit, mutters Jean. They are synchronized like a mechanism. No wasted words. At that moment, the owner steps out of the store. An old man in a suit, holding a set of keys on a heavy keychain. His movements are slow, his hands trembling. He is the weak link. He comes out at this exact time every day. Lucas notes. That's our clock. Matteo glances at him and smirks crookedly. You still think this will be perfect? I know it will be beautiful, Lucas replies. Jean swallows a pill right on the rooftop and quietly adds. Beauty always ends in blood. Paris goes on with its life, unaware that in just a few days the first drop will be spilled here. Night. Paris sleeps, but Rue de Rivoli still glows with neon. An empty sidewalk. Silence sharp enough to cut with a knife. A black van stops 2 blocks from the jewelry store. The doors open. 3 men step out, masked, dressed in black. Lucas walks first. His steps are precise, calculated. Matteo carries the bag of tools. Jean slips away into the darkness, up to his roof. They move in silence. Everything rehearsed. One gesture and Matteo connects the jammer to the alarm. Another gesture and Lucas cuts the lock on the back door. The lock falls without a sound. They enter inside. Darkness, only the glimmer of flashlights on the showcases of diamonds. The silence presses against their ears. Clear, Lucas whispers. Suddenly, Jean's voice cracks through the earpiece. Careful. Patrol on the left. 2 of them. They're passing by. Lucas freezes, fists clenched. Matteo holds his breath, his hand on the pistol. The footsteps of the policeman fade. The danger passes. They move forward again. The diamonds are almost within reach. Everything is going perfectly. But that's the problem. Too perfectly. Inside the store. Flashlights slide across glass displays. Diamonds gleam like cold eyes. Matteo stuffs the jewelry into black bags quickly. His movements are sharp, nervous. Lucas keeps the time. Every second weighs like gold. Jean watches the street from the rooftop. Clear, he says into the earpiece. You've got 3 more minutes. Lucas nods. They work like clockwork. And then a sharp sound. The shatter of glass. Matteo drops a showcase. The alarm comes alive. The howl of a siren fills the air. Damn it! Matteo shouts. You said it was disabled. It was disabled. Lucas grits his teeth. There's a backup. Blue lights flare outside. The patrol returns. The car stops right at the entrance. Through the scope, Gene sees the officers. His finger trembles on the trigger. He can still shoot. One shot and the way is open. But then it's no longer a clean heist. It's war. Gene, Lucas yells. Time. If I fire, there's no way back, he replies. The moment stretches. Silence before the shot. 1 second and their whole fate will change. The street in front of the jewelry store. Blue flashes wash over the facades. 2 policemen step out of the car. One holds a flashlight. The other rests his hand on the holster. On the rooftop, Gene. His eye in the scope. Finger on the trigger. His palm trembling. In his head, the old voice of his instructor. When you shoot, you decide fate. A shot. 1 policeman drops. The other screams and hides behind the car. They're here already. Lucas's voice shouts. Faster. The howl of the siren turns into screams. Inside the store, Mateo yanks a bag of diamonds from the showcase. Glass raining onto the floor. Lucas grabs his arm. We're leaving. From the street comes the burst of an automatic. Reinforcements have arrived. Paris is awake. They burst out of the store into a black alley. Shouts, gunfire, footsteps slamming on asphalt. Gene covers from above. Bullets ricochet off the walls. They dive into the van, out of breath, hands smeared with blood. Mateo laughs, almost hysterical. We did it! We got them. Lucas stares at him with cold eyes. This is only the beginning. Now they'll turn the whole city upside down. Gene comes down from the roof last. His eyes are bloodshot. He doesn't know who exactly he just killed. A policeman? A father? A husband? But the shot has already changed their lives forever. The van races through the narrow streets of Paris. Sirens tear the night apart. Behind the wheel, Lucas. His face is stone. Beside him, Mateo clutches the bag of diamonds, his eyes gleaming with adrenaline. In the back, Gene grips the rifle, his hands covered in sweat and blood. We escaped, Mateo exhales. We're cornered, Lucas answers dryly. Up ahead, police cars block the road. Spotlights blaze into the windshield. From the side streets, more sirens. Paris has locked them in a cage. What now? Gene asks. Lucas stays silent. For a second, his eyes flare. He searches for a way out, but knows. There is none. The van halts sharply. Silence. They look at each other. 3 men brought together by chance with no road back. Mateo grips his pistol. I won't go back. I'd rather die here. Gene slides the last round into his rifle. Lucas breathes in the air, as if for the last time. They step out of the van. The night erupts with gunfire. Paris trembles with the echo. Seconds stretch into eternity. Blood mixes with rain on the cobblestones. Diamonds spill from the bag, scattering across the asphalt, glittering in the headlights like cold stars. The story ends as it began, with chance, but this time fatal.